That's great. All right.
That's great.
Yeah, bravo, bravo. If you're listening to this podcast, go check out the intro to this the video part. Aaron made an amazing.
It's looping. Stop.
Oh.
Aaron made an amazing Annihilation.
Well,
totally.
tell him the German that idea, Aaron.
Well, when we were getting in the car out of the theater, Ben and I were chatting about it, and he said, "So when they were doing the mirroring scene, what came to mind?"
Like,
and I said, "I bet it's the same thing that came to mind with you."
He goes, say it. I go, duck soup, right?
Yep.
He goes, yeah.
Oh, did we laugh?
Oh, we have little humor.
So, welcome to the Spork of Moodness podcast.
Hey, nice.
Wait, sorry. It's been so long since we've actually sat here and done a podcast
It's been like,
like
what,
this.
2-3 weeks?
Yeah.
It's been like a month since we've done this format. This is Spark of Madness podcast. I'm Matt. That's Ben.
How you doing?
That's Aaron at the controls. And we actually have a special guest. He was on... Shoot, I forget the podcast. You'll have to remind us of the movie. But Wesley Roth. Hey, Wesley.
Hey, it was a Cloverfield Paradox. Or,
Oh, that's right.
you know,
Cloverfield. Yeah. That's right.
big
You're our...
total failure.
We tried to forget about that.
I tried.
Well,
Is Wesley? There he is? Okay, there's. Isn't he lovely?
I was getting everything ready.
Isn't he lovely?
So Wesley's actually, I would say the main reason we're even doing this podcast on the show, because I remember right after the movie came out, he reached out and was like, "Hey, have you seen Annihilation yet?" And what did you think, Wesley? Like, you felt pretty strongly we needed to do this movie.
Yeah, I did. I don't know. We don't get a lot of films like this, honestly.
No,
it
we
was
don't.
refreshing.
But what's your face, Ben?
I'm laughing at you.
Oh, yeah.
Me.
Yeah, I'm laughing when Wesley says that we don't get a lot of
Films like this.
This is going to be a really good pod.
Yeah. So, and this is also kind of not just from the film, but also we usually do new movies a little bit more immediately after their release.
Wait,
and
when did this come out?
February 19th, I think.
Yeah, this came out a long time ago.
So we waited on this one.
We saw it
This
in
is already movies 8.
last few theaters that actually still had it. So
Yeah.
hopefully a lot of people, I see a couple of people are
No
following
wonder the
along.
theater we were in was empty.
Well, here's an interesting fact. I went and watched the Red Letter Media guys right after. I didn't know that this was only in theaters here, and everywhere else it was on Netflix. They released it only on Netflix.
What?
Why
Yeah.
did we go to theaters
Is that
then?
true?
It's not on
No, you
Netflix in the
can't
United
watch it on
States.
Netflix here.
Oh,
It's not Netflix everywhere else.
I get it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're telling me I had to pay $10 to go see this movie?
And that was weird. When we bought the tickets, it was exactly $10.
Yeah.
There was no tax.
No,
It
no
was.
tax. Yeah.
But then it started like duplicating.
By the end of the time, by the end of our stint at the theater, we'd paid $100.
And for some reason I left and I had this big figure 8 tattoo on my arm.
And
It
the
was really
money
weird.
had turned brown.
Yeah.
And we had,
And my mouth tasted like soap.
and we went, and the guy next to us turned to worms. And so we had some good night crawlers.
I thought I heard you call when you went to the bathroom and you came back. I thought I heard you calling for me, and I turned around and this guy just attacked me.
Yeah.
Those jokes, you need to watch the movie.
Doing the Vincent Price voice, but it was kind of muffled.
Hello, Matt.
Have you heard about the Pacers?
Help me, Matt.
All right, we're off the rails already. So we're doing Annihilation, and this is an Alex Garland movie. He did most recently Ex Machina, right? Which I haven't seen. I've heard it's amazing.
I want to
though.
see that.
Have you seen it,
Very,
Wesley?
very good. I have.
It's about
that was
robots, right?
Probably my favorite movie of 2015.
Okay, so
I've heard it, and that has Oscar Isaac in it too.
Yes, and Alicia Vikander, who's in Tomb Raider now, and Donald Gleason from Star Wars, amongst other things.
You mean Oscar Isaacs from Star Wars too?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Apocalypse Now.
I know the movies I've seen that Alex Garland has done. I've seen Sunshine, and I think he did the Dread.
He
remake,
actually
right?
directed that as well.
And I loved
Dread
that,
was
and I love
good.
Sunshine too.
That was one of those movies or remakes where I'm like, is this better than the original? I can't tell. They're both really good.
They're different,
Yeah.
which is good.
And this movie is based off of a book that he adapted in a lot of ways. I don't know. I did very bare bones research about that process, and I don't know how much he actually, how faithful to the book it was.
I'll bet you it
Not
was
very.
a 2001
Not
sort of
very, okay.
adaptation.
But before we get
right
into
here.
it,
Have you read the book?
Oh, you have the book?
He's
I
showing
have
it
it
on
right
the
here.
screen.
Look at that.
Have you
started
read
it.
it? Okay.
I started it.
I read the first
it's-
page. I feel like I got a good read.
Well, no, I mean I started. It says Annihilation and the author's name on the end, so I started.
Okay.
No,
Learned something today.
It's very. It's hard to describe. Actually, Alex Garland said that he wrote the screenplay based on his memory of the book from like 10 or 15 years ago, I guess. 'Cause
That's
it came
almost
out
a
in,
good
like,
way to do
2002.
things.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and so he had his idea of what he thought the book was about, and he wrote that.
It
Which is-
leads to a good adaptation. Like it's not
Yeah.
going to be the same.
Yeah,
That's
Which is what I think
interesting.
they should be.
Well, so given that this movie came out a year ago, given that it's different from the book, a month ago, and given that it's different from the book, let's kind of, for the sake of our audience who may be listening or watching,
May
kind
or
of
may not.
recap what happened in the movie. Who wants to take a shot at it?
Wesley, why don't you do it?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, top line narrative. I'd say this movie is about a group of women who have all suffered in some way in their life. Mostly our main protagonist, played by Natalie Portman, Lena, who is a doctor at Johns Hopkins, and she has a husband, played by Oscar Isaac, who is on some sort of secret mission. They are both former military. Or he's current military. She's former military, and she goes to find out basically where his mission has taken him, and it leads her to a place in Florida, or on the border of Florida and Louisiana, where a new branch of military called Southern Reach has set up a camp.
Area X?
Area
Was
X
that what
is
it's
the name
called?
of the
Area
camp,
X?
Is the name of the camp, and that is
You have to shoot off screen to reload.
Somebody really worked on that title, by the way.
Yeah.
Unobtainium X.
Unobtainium X, exactly. Charles Xavier lives there, actually. But that's where you get your mutant powers.
I call it the
Quite
show.
Yeah.
literally, in fact.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's around a phenomenon called the shimmer, which seemingly has resulted from outer space.
It's like an asteroid that hit a lighthouse.
And it
And
wasn't.
the shimmer's this big bubble that just is ever expanding.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
sort of.
Everything it touches starts like acting weird.
And anybody that's gone in, nobody's come back except for Oscar Isaac, who's Natalie Portman's husband.
It's like the Wonka factory. Nobody ever
Except
goes
people
in.
do go in.
Nobody ever comes out.
Didn't need no ticket to get in this one. Man.
So, I don't think there's I guess we could kind of recap. Okay, spoiler, everybody, spoiler. The end of the movie ultimately. So everybody, it's sort of in a lot of ways the horror. One after one, everybody gets picked off except for Natalie Portman, who finds the lighthouse, and I guess. Does she meet the alien?
Lighthouse is the source of the
Okay, so
stuff.
or
at
not?
the
Or does
very
she
end-
ever meet an alien or not? I
well,
don't think so.
we don't know what it is. I think it's ambiguous.
The
What-
mirror guy.
What it is that mirror thing. Like, who was that? Was
mirror
it
woman.
Was it the other lady that evolved to that? It was evolving to mimic her, to be her. Is Oscar Isaacs the same kind of is that what Oscar Isaac's character was? Too.
Yeah.
And it's all interesting, and I mean, we don't know. Like, it's very ambiguous, which I like. I like not being, told exactly what it is. It's the opposite of Mother. Everybody get that?
We got to keep dredging that up.
Well, I'm saying, like, let's leave a little bit of ambiguity that makes it a little more realistic and
maybe not
more
even realistic, intriguing.
well, intriguing.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of mysteries, and
It's coherent, I think, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, because you can leave mystery in a story that doesn't make sense, and you'll be pissed off.
that's true.
So it gave us just enough.
Well, let's talk about. I think we should discuss what we think that was at the end, since we're already here at that topic.
Just skip right to that.
Well, I mean,
I guess
Let's get to the
that's
meat and
the
potatoes.
visual we actually have already shown.
yeah,
so
the
it
very
makes
visual
sense.
yeah.
Sorry.
So at the very end, what do you think it was?
I can start.
Yeah.
I think it was a metaphor for her. Again, this movie is about self-destruction. They spell it out pretty clearly.
Yeah.
I think that was a metaphor, at least in the writing sense, for her to destroy the bad part of herself and start over. I don't care what it was, alien or not. What's meaningful is that she got to start over. So that's my take.
You, Matt?
This kind of gets at a bigger. I think Aaron's absolutely right from a screenwriting standpoint and what it's supposed to represent. It's literally a mirror of herself that then she destroys to sort of like rise from the phoenix. And as she even says at the end of the movie, I don't know really what this alien or what it wants, but maybe it's just to create something new, and that's it. And sort of like just that idea.
It's the space baby.
To see something mimicking her in this really creepy way. But I do think from the literal sense of what was happening in the movie, in the context of the movie, I think it was a manifestation of this alien thing that's created this was when you guys say that it's coherent and that it all kind of it
doesn't necessarily contradict itself.
Yeah, well, I guess like I felt like the whole thing from Tessa Thompson's character about it's refracting us and taking our DNA and absorb. Like I was totally confused by that logic, and so I'm just interpreting it as the shimmer absorbs people and produces something out of it. And so I just thought that was like they took a piece of her from the blood that pulled out of her eyeball into the big cloudy eye thing, and then it produced
it's kind of, what it's kind of like
vessel that was going to mirror her.
Well, it's kind of like in Prometheus. Like
this movie had I have that in my notes, strong whiffs of Prometheus,
but done in a better way, where it's kind of like this it's just this mutation, this thing that is we don't know. Like I like it, we don't know what it is, but obviously it's not like they said cancer. I think they said this in the movie where it's not benevolent or malevolent. It just is. You know what I mean? And I think that's what like this thing. It's not an evil thing. It's not
it's
a
like
good
poo.
thing. It's just something. You know what I mean? And I think it's interesting.
It's like cells.
Well, it's interesting when the asteroid hit, it didn't destroy everything. It was like a buckshot, like a little
like a bottle rocket.
Yeah,
just made a little
hole. It didn't destroy the thing. So it's like obviously this is not an asteroid because an asteroid would blow up the whole lighthouse. So I think it's interesting. And one thing to know, I liked this when they had the special effects where it's like it wasn't like Avatar where they heavy-handed the world is like ultraviolet. It was really subtle. And like they shot in real places, but it was real subtle. I liked that.
So Wesley, what did you think of the mirror creature thing?
I think you're all pretty much dead on. I think that it's ambiguous enough that you can kind of take your own version of that as well. One of the things that I thought about seeing it was that everything in The Shimmer was about reflection, and like the entire movie, while it's about self-destruction, it's also about introspection. So once the four first step up to the shimmer, the first thing they see is their own reflection in it, and that sort of symbolizes they're going within themselves for the first time. Obviously, all four characters had something that they were dealing with, whether it was Lena's marriage, Tessa Thompson's
infidelitous actions.
Exactly. And like her self-hatred, which was to me really interesting. That's also, I don't know if you noticed this, but the timing of the infidelity scenes, where they were placed in the film.
Yeah, they were very pinpointed.
Yeah,
well,
so,
like explain that to the audience.
Well, she sees herself. She sees her reflection, and then it cuts away to the first time. You know, it kind of does that shot of her. It goes back to the shot of her looking out the window, and then it shows that it's an affair. And so that's her first. Like, she's looking at herself, and that's the first time we're given the information that she's, you know, cheating on her husband, or had cheated on her husband.
And they needed a black guy so that they know it wasn't, like, it was real dark shadows.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, it wasn't.
It wasn't Oscar Isaac.
It wasn't Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
I know that sounds stupid, but it was a good choice of, like.
No, it's like being on stage. You don't wear the same color dress.
Well,
No.
I think that's a great call out about this movie, Wesley, about how it's kind of about introspection, because in a lot of things that I read about how people, especially the people who loved this movie, like absolutely loved it, is that they saw a lot of, from how the movie was visualized, and the certain kinds of, even at times when it felt like, that's really weird, why are they acting like that? Like, they saw something in those moments that felt very kind of, they could relate to it, whether it's about depression or anxiety or having something where you're all caught up in your head. Like, this shimmer world is very much sort of like, and you know, Alex Garland said that this is very much a dream, like nightmarish kind of world, but in a lot of ways it's also like how your brain handles what you're talking about, these kind of struggles, and each one is kind of damaged in their own ways, and how that manifests. And like Tessa Thompson's character has the scars from when she like was cutting herself, and then at the end it kind of comes full circle, and how the plants grow out of her scars, and her scars are gone. And like, there's a lot of that, and like also the mirroring, like you don't recognize yourself or you feel like you're going crazy. So a lot of the like mental, maybe not mental illness necessarily, but like getting wrapped up in your own thoughts. That type of thing is, I can agree that visualization is for sure one of the strongest parts of the movie.
Yeah, it's
from a concept standpoint, for sure.
Go ahead, Wesley.
Even like, to take what you just said a step further, what blew me away was a lot of it. It took, you know, a lot of it's going to take time to really, like, you think about the film and you think about the different scenes and try to put them in context with each other, and that's where you start to sort of discover just how well knit it is, and not just necessarily the story itself, but the top line narrative to the subtext, being that, like, each.
What do you mean well knit?
Like, everything that happens within the course of the narrative is a representation of something that's happening in the subtext. So when Lena gets cut, when she starts to like deal with her self-destructive, you know, behavior, like, that's visualized through her looking into herself, literally. Like, she cuts herself and looks into herself, which I like. Yeah. I was like, that's really interesting. You know, if you're somebody who's watching this and you're expecting, you know, Skyline, you know, you're like, oh, this is just going to be a great popcorn sci-fi flick. No. You're looking like, why am I looking at this? You know, why this is like a toned down version of a ghost story, in a lot of ways.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
But beyond that, like the bear, like you guys we were talking about the bear, like, it's creepy. It was creepy, but I couldn't wrap my head around what it was at first. And then why they brought in the whole like absorbed consciousness aspect. And I talked to a friend who had seen it, and he was like, yeah, I don't really know what to think that is. And we hashed it out a little bit and discussed it. And the girl who's or the woman, I can't remember her name. The cop.
She's the one that lost her daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that gets killed
her
right away.
comment. Yeah, her comment was, I lost who I was, and so she's just been carrying this like an empty shell. And so when she was taken, that bear absorbed her essence, which I was like, that's awesome.
So this kind of gets at both.
And then they killed the bear.
Yeah.
Problem
This kinda,
solved.
I feel kind of weird talking so positively about the full disclosure. I'm not the biggest fan of this movie. So,
There was a lot of comments during my watching of this.
I think we need to pivot this in my opinion direction that this movie sucked. But I will say this: as much as I think that the strength of the movie is what we were just talking about, and the strength is like the bear absorbing the woman who feels like she lost herself. Like that's a great representation of. And the same goes for Tessa Thompson's character about how she stopped fighting and stopped trying to understand this world and just is like at peace with it. But like every character except Natalie Portman actually, like, they're dead. They die in the movie. And so that gets to like the self-destruction narrative that Aaron brought up. That's very much a theme throughout the whole movie and how it's kind of pointless. But like, I feel like it's resonating with people on these different levels that were like, if you think about it, like the whole idea is that and the part of the interview that Alex Garland that I read, and it comes through in the movie, I think too, is that being self-destructive is meaningless, that it's pointless. Like that's a direct, like it's meaningless to have that mindset, even though it's baked into who we are. But like from a story standpoint, it's like, well, yeah, you're
gonna do it.
Well, it's called Annihilation.
Yeah.
I mean,
so like, I guess that's like, yeah, they're gonna die, and their motivations don't make sense from a story standpoint and a character standpoint. Their motivations are driven by things that you're admitting both in the story and kind of at a high level that don't make sense. And so we're just supposed to get on board that like, yeah, this doesn't make sense, and that's self-destructive and that's dumb. Okay, so
we're gonna do it anyway.
But they keep doing it. So like, what's the takeaway?
Well, the takeaway is that Natalie Portman wasn't. She finally took control of everything.
By doing what though? But she didn't do anything. She just kind of got to the end. What decision did she make?
She looked at herself like in that creature, and literally gave it a grenade,
and walked away.
She handled it. She controlled her own life, rather. Okay, so in the metaphor of being self-destructive, it's like we're our own worst enemy in life.
Mm-hmm.
We're the ones, we get in our own way.
But the point in this though is that we get in our own way for no reason. Like we're given no details about why their marriage fell apart or why she was unhappy or like she just did it.
Why do you need that?
Well,
that's the metaphor like that she talks about. The very first line in the movie is, "We have no idea why our cells eventually stop aging or start aging. They just decide it's time to die, and your body starts slowly killing itself."
And I guess from my perspective, I think that's an interesting idea, and I think that's why the book is so great, and I think you can add so much around it from a story about characters doing things, and it's just like, we just do, like, in any other narrative art form and storytelling, characters just doing something for no reason, that is and also presented in this way where it's so convoluted.
What do you mean characters doing something for no reason?
Have you never read Catcher in the Rye?
What?
I hate Catcher in the Rye.
I loved it.
But like in this particular context, what do you mean in the movie like characters doing things for no reason? Like,
so for instance, why does she stay in? I guess there's kind of I think this is embodied in a conflict that happens at 2 points in the movie. She asks, after talking to the psychiatrist Ventress character, why did her husband go, like talking to, and this is where we get all the dialogue about the difference between suicide and self-destruction, and and she calls out that Oscar Isaac went in because maybe he's self-destructive too, like we all are. It's baked into us. You should know better than anybody. And so at that point, it's like, here is the motivation for Oscar Isaac's character to go in, that he's just he can't help but be to destroy his own happiness or destroy what's going on.
Did we
then
know if
later
he knew
in
about
the
the
movie,
affair at that point?
He did know.
He knew about the affair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why he did it.
later in the movie, though, she brings much later in the movie. Actually, she brings up again, like she challenges, "Why did my husband come in here?" And that may just be bad writing, but like it just seems like. I don't know. Like everything was delivered in such a way where I didn't feel like even the other characters where we're supposed to understand that they have baggage. It's delivered in like this canoe scene where it's just like, oh, here's that thing about every character, and it doesn't really come up in any other way. It felt very underdeveloped. Just like their relationship and all those scenes, I felt like the writing across the board in terms of the dialogue was bad.
What would have been better? Like we have flashbacks of everybody. They just focused it on her,
right? And that's the point. Is I want to give it credit because those characters are just as interesting and fit just as well to this narrative. But we're focusing on Natalie Portman's character.
I know,
and her story doesn't. Her story to me was not
the weakest one.
Was by far the weakest. The scenes they wrote were bad.
Do you want Suicide Squad?
I want this to be about the environment.
What Justice League?
It's like every character, like half the movie is like that.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. That was just a big problem I had. So
well, I think that's a terrible argument. No,
I think you should mute your mic and go home.
All right.
You need to sleep anyways. Look at those bags.
So I'll just. This is something I'm interested. Did you guys find the Natalie Portman, Oscar Isaac, all of her backstory that beyond just her role in the movie within the Shimmer, but all of her backstory as a character, did you feel like that was good?
It was all right. Here's what I think. Here's this movie reminded me of another movie that I think was a lot better movie. I don't think this movie. I actually liked this movie. I didn't loathe it like Matt, but I thought it was a good movie. I didn't think it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, but a movie that's similar to this that actually I think did a better job, which was snubbed really, was Arrival.
Still need to see that.
Arrival was the Best Picture nominee.
Yeah, but didn't win. It should have won.
Hence, snubbed.
Boom.
Okay.
Where
I agree with you on that.
Like it was a similar
Yes.
character that was just didn't have any much to live for, but her back. But like there was a cool. That was more thought provoking, and not spoon fed, but still more information was given at the end, and her back. Like we liked her backstory more. You know, you mean. And to be honest,
story.
huh?
Yeah,
And her forward
story. Yeah,
It's
this was
true.
a big
Nice.
circle.
But also what's interesting was because that was like, what are these? What are these? We don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. But it was more. I think it was more rewarding for an audience member. But also Natalie Portman's a good actor. She's not a great actor. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think why I think.
Amy
Arrivals.
Adams.
Amy
Yeah.
Adams is a better actress.
Yeah, she's.
A much better actress.
I think she carried this film fine, though.
Yeah, I didn't think she was bad.
No, she kind of is what this character is. She's former military and she's a doctor.
Oh.
Which I thought.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
Well, I'll give my 2 cents on this. About the plot and the character development, it was all just set dressing for me. It didn't matter how good the narrative was to me as long as the metaphor hit home.
Mm-hmm.
And I really could have used less of narrative.
Yes, I agree with you.
As far as the movie goes, I really did not care for the first 2/3 of the movie. Acts 1 and 2 were a drag. Now, in retrospect, after seeing Act 3, which I loved, it makes Acts 1 and 2 a little better, but there was too much getting attacked by creatures.
Yeah.
Too much of that. Wasn't compelling.
Well, I was waiting for like the Bayou guy that's half crocodile, half Bayou guy. You know.
I was waiting for Paul Hogan to come out.
He's
That's
a
not
crocodile. and
This is a
Dundee.
croc.
It was actually a mix of Paul Hogan and Seth Rogen.
That's not a blunt. This is a blunt.
he tries cutting something.
Pineapple Express, y'all.
Yeah, this is the blunt. He tries cutting something. It doesn't cut.
That's really good impression. That's really good.
But yeah,
Go
not
ahead.
my favorite movie. But as soon as Act 3 came into play, I calmed down a little bit, because before that I was just kind of, what is going on? At that point I was like, now this is pod racing.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like and this is something I wrote down. It felt like the focus and there was a crazy amount of tone shifts leading
it felt
up
like
to
a
that
different
point.
team did the third act.
Yeah, and so I feel like, and especially how that reinforced a lot of the kind of psychological stuff, a lot of and when we talk about a lot of the themes, and even just the open-ended questions you leave with, the third act is where it comes together. Like, if they made a movie, if they made that the whole movie, I would probably have a different opinion with the same art direction and stuff. But instead, they dedicate a lot of time on this relationship, and to me that didn't hit home. They spent a lot of time on the sci-fi element and like the mystery behind what's happening, and then there's horror elements that come in that relate to the sci-fi, but it's not so much about this like higher level theme to it. And so like I didn't know where to focus my attention.
So you think it's kind of like it didn't know what it wanted to be?
Yeah, or at least it wasn't. So when you say
It could have been a little more focused.
narratively, maybe it's coherent, like it goes from this to this to this to this to this, like that may make sense. But in terms of the tone and in terms of what it was focusing on, I felt like, is this a sci-fi movie? Is it? And you can blend genres, but in this case, I don't know, it kind of like did 180s all the way through.
I agree with you there, actually.
Maybe not 180s, more like 45s.
It's kind, you know what?
63
It was kind of like
degrees.
It's kind of like a bunch of roller coasters combined. You know, steel, inverted, wood.
I don't think I agree. I think that there's just some connection left for you to make. Like, that sounds condescending. I don't mean to.
Well,
But
it's like I said, after seeing
is
Act
the
3,
last
Act
pod
1 and
of
2
Wesley.
made more sense, but still.
It was nice having you, Wesley. All right, we'll see you next time.
Shortest episode ever there.
And
No,
he's
there's
gone.
More like maybe the second time you watch it, like the thing, you'll be like, oh, okay.
There
Like,
won't be a second time.
fair.
Well, so have you seen it twice, Wesley?
Yeah, that's right.
What are some of, because I could honestly see that happening, to be fair.
Yeah.
So like, what are some things that you noticed the second time that kind of stood out as like, oh, I didn't notice that?
Well, there was a side shot of Natalie Portman's boob. If you could,
Side boob!
I didn't notice that. I saw it on this skin.
I'm just kidding.
Annihilation.
Analyation.
I am genuinely curious though. Wait,
Yeah,
your
sorry,
answer.
I had to make a joke.
Well, now it's been a while, but there are
I don't
some
remember, but
key-
it's there.
Yeah. But there's some key stuff with the conversation between Kane and Lena.
There is, yeah. I noticed some of that, and I it was nice.
Yeah, at the beginning.
What
And
I failed to draw any connection with the glass of water. What was up with that?
It was a mirror, right?
it was refraction.
The reflection. Yeah.
No, I just think when you drink soap and water, it makes it more like it just makes
cleansing.
bubbles. So when he drank it, because he's full of soap, right? And he
right.
he drank it and like he's like, oh.
So if anybody ever drinks soap, your intestines are going to turn into slithering snakes, and your skin and fingerprints are going to move around like water.
Yes.
Yep,
Right.
that's the
Okay.
takeaway. Don't
So
drink
that's
soap.
why Mom told me not to drink soap.
No
Unless swore,
eating
she
Tide
made you.
Pods.
Yeah. Okay.
But no. I think and one of the things that I think you're not. I keep saying this in the most like assholeish way ever. But,
Keep going.
hung up on is like, how come she this hasn't been your main thing, but I think in there's something about how come she's the one who made it out, sort of.
Yeah.
And how come
In
the
some
other ones
ways,
didn't?
yeah.
It's just because they represented their personal demons, and one of them was Tessa Thompson's. Like, you nailed that one, which was like her willingness to accept things the way they are, and for her that was like, I've found something more beautiful here, which I guess is sort of like, that's not really the subtext of it. That was the more literal.
And then Natalie Portman burns it all.
Well, no, she didn't burn it. The creature did. See,
Yeah.
the creature was just aping her. She gave her the grenade, and it's like, well, I better explode.
Yeah, I better be self-destructive. Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. Like, that was a representation. Is it copied her?
That's what I said.
Right. Yeah.
Well, no, hold on. What was different about Natalie Portman than Ventress there? Ventress accepted her fate, and she was destroyed, pretty much. Like, she disappeared.
She had cancer anyway.
Exactly. But so she accepted her fate, I guess, and like, I'm done. I got here. That's all I wanted.
I want to see the bar of soap at the end.
But what the reason Natalie Portman's character was different is because she was the survivor. So that's why it turned into her at the end. It's like, okay, this is the survivor. This is the one who will burn herself. She will destroy herself as she was to continue, which is what her copy did. It's like
You could say she had the desire to go on.
Right. Yeah. She was the one who worked through her self-destruction.
Because the power of love.
Yeah. And so the significance of the very last shot of her eye is that it allowed itself, the entire shimmer, to be destroyed. And so now she is the shimmer. So it moved on. It survived.
Okay.
I mean, she was the survivor, so it replicated her and changed her to live through her, which that's more of the like literal.
I can't believe nobody's brought up the question of, well, did the creature pull a switcheroo with her? Is this the real Lena?
No, it's not, right?
It didn't pull a switcheroo, but she's not the same.
No,
she's different.
She's got the tattoo.
She's touched the creature, so that's in her too. You mean?
Yeah. That's
and the same with Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
What I mean is, I felt like there was easy fodder for, is this the real Lena?
Yeah.
So Alien
it's not
Covenant.
No, obviously not. I just mean it's still, the base is still there.
If I was, and this is something that I think could have been stronger, but I actually felt like the best read of this wasn't so much like thinking about it as maybe not even self-destruction. I feel like maybe not the better movie, but the better kind of outcome would be to focus on, and this is my bias, and like we've brought up a million times, as you guys know on this podcast, how much I care about characters and their motivation. I get so hung up on that stuff. I feel like the better extrapolation of this movie is the one about using all of this as a metaphor for like building a successful relationship, like, because it spent so much time on Oscar Isaac and her in this backstory and their faults there, and then what happened, that you could see this, like, you have to go through this period to then come out transformed in order to be able to, like, you have to come out like a different person in order to make it work. Like, you can't be so, you see what I mean? Like, you have to
self-destructive. Like, you're right. It's a metaphor for like a bad relationship, you know, like a lot,
right?
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like if you're self-destructive, you can't be with anybody.
Yeah, and so
it is exactly that. So
I don't think that was necessarily. It's sort of like I feel like it's my personal take on it. I haven't read like that specifically. Maybe that's like a turn off of what we've been talking about this whole time about like, oh, that kind of applies, but like that idea of how in like a romantic relationship, how people have to adapt to each other after, like, from this. I feel like that was the strongest part, but you know, that wasn't the main. Yeah, whatever. I'm just.
It was a vehicle to give that message, I think. Like, which I looked at an interview with Oscar Isaac actually the other day, where he said, "For me, this movie has nothing to do with an alien. It has to do with what happens. How do you survive infidelity? You know, and what is that at its core? Like, if you're happy, why do people do? Why would you do something that not only hurts you but hurts the person you love? And then what do you have to do to survive that? Like, you have to change. Yeah, flash grenade.
Change yourself.
Well, to me, yeah, I guess to me though, that like
you're saying, why was it more specific to that?
Well, like the fallback though, with that kind of thought, like why would somebody do that? Why would somebody intentionally be self-destructive?
Well, but here's the thing:
this movie
some people are.
Yeah, but this movie is basically just leaving it at, ourselves are self-destructive. People are just self-destructive, and it
yeah,
just
they
stops
are.
there.
Yeah,
I don't think
that's,
so.
I think
I don't
that's
think it
what
stops
art is.
there.
It's an observation, not necessarily a solution.
No, I'm not saying it needs to be a solution, but it doesn't really.
Where's the Spielberg happy ending?
It doesn't even need a happy ending. It's just.
Did E.T. go home or not?
It almost feels like an excuse to me. Like it feels like.
But that is what people are, self-destructive without it really needing any reason.
Yeah,
But-
and,
but my
most
problem
of
is
us call
that-
it human nature.
Well, like Natalie Portman's character is lumped in with people who have suffered actual trauma. Like,
Yeah, but
actual
but
pain.
different degrees. There is trauma in relationships.
Don't lessen her experience because somebody else
Yeah,
lost a loved
people,
one or
death
something.
of people. Seeing loud. Like being a.
Suffering is suffering.
Yeah, I mean, there's different degrees, but it was showing like her degree of it, where it's like, emotional, like psychological, emotionally, like that's a big thing. It's not as bad as losing your child, or anything like that, but it's still it's an issue that a lot of people struggle with.
I think what Matt would have liked is to just have this whole movie be from one of the other characters' perspective. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
I would have wanted the other. No, I would have wanted it to be an ensemble.
Okay.
I would have sort of like Sunshine and other movies where it feels like you're not sure who you're supposed to latch onto.
What was the
Yeah.
runtime of
It's
this movie?
because that makes it feel like a conceptual,
Well,
sort of like Alien or whatever.
well, Alien wasn't. Well, the first one maybe. The second one, not.
Yeah, no. But like feeling like, okay, this is our group and they all kind of fit into the theme and I see how it works and I'm not necessarily,
Predator is kind of like
there's not
that.
a specific
Yeah.
protagonist necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, Arnold was the hero, but in Predator they do a good job.
Everybody
of, like,
else had their moments.
they had their moments. Those guys, without telling too much, but
Because I literally, as you guys remember in the theater, I laughed out loud during the scene where Gina Rodriguez's character is like, oh, obviously they went crazy when like they have video camera footage. And I know like her character is supposed to be going crazy at this point, but like it's just so ridiculous. And
line.
we were given no establishment that this is a psychological thriller movie up to that point yet until
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't have a problem with that.
I keep crapping on the movie. You guys should talk about what was so good about it.
I
not
thought
just-
it stank.
I think that was just all of those things that don't seem to make sense were just representations of what that person's thing was. Like each of them had to. This was just like amplifying whatever their deficiencies were. Like with the guy with the snakes inside, not snakes, but the snake intestines. Like to me, what I took from it was some sort of like symbolism of dishonesty or compulsive liar, maybe. And like that's just there to add, atmosphere.
Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, Wesley.
Sometimes, but not in this.
I
movie.
thought they were worms.
I thought they were real snake and like
Yeah.
real like crazy. Oh, you thought they were worms?
I thought they were worms.
Oh, I thought it was
They were
just. I guess I thought it
They
was
were
too.
pink.
Yeah.
Intestines?
They were
Earthworm
intestines,
Jim.
but they were alive. Like,
So let me. I just want to talk about one bad thing though. One bad thing in it that
The
really
only
bothered me.
bad thing.
Well,
I'm listening.
Cue Matt. Cue Waldorf and Stadler. It stinked. Muppets. When is it over? No. No, the one bad part that didn't make sense. Is like you're up in this treehouse essentially, this safe place.
Oh, I know it.
Why would you first of all, why would someone be on watch down below, which is
With a light on.
With a light on, terrible watch station. 2, you would be up on top, or maybe
There was a guard tower.
or maybe a couple levels below, but not, like, so you had the high ground of stuff. 2, when trouble happens, why are you running down to there? Like, you got to stay up there. Like, that's the whole point.
You have a
of
rifle with a scope.
But yeah, have a rifle with a scope, but also like it's like
High ground. Yeah, you can see it at a distance.
It's like
Yeah.
you'd retreat back
Star
there.
Wars taught us about the high ground.
She's the military.
I taught you, Natalie
But
Portman.
That was a safe place to be to shoot. You know what I mean? Like just at like stuff like that bothered me. At least
about-
it wasn't littered like Star Wars: Last Jedi.
What about that video camera battery life?
Yeah.
I explained it to you in the theater. I broke the code of speaking in the theater and said, time is non-linear in the Shimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Look at that.
What is that?
Oh,
He
he's got
bought
the last
4K Blu-ray.
That's one of the most expensive coffee coasters you can ever buy.
No,
You
that's
guys
my
just
that's my
play-
diploma.
So if I were gonna make like you just brought up a bad thing. If I'm gonna say a good thing,
Yeah, say
Compliment
good name.
sandwich.
to call back something you said earlier, Ben.
I just don't like things
the
like that
art.
in
I
movies.
felt like the visuals and the art direction and the beautiful.
Muy bueno. And it
Using
wasn't-
like kind of mutation that looked very much organic, almost like fungus or rotting stuff that's rotting, but still very colorful and
but it wasn't like ultra. Like it wasn't like Pandora.
too saturated.
It was
or
just.
anything.
It was
Yeah.
enough to make it like yeah, this is a real place, but it's still there's something off about it a little bit that makes it pretty
Yeah.
different.
It looks normal at first glance.
Yeah.
I do have one negative I could share.
Please.
Uh-oh.
One negative. I have one negative for this movie, and it's that it wasn't shot on film.
It
It
wasn't.
wasn't shot on film.
It's shot on Sony cameras, like Sony prosumer cameras.
XHG5
No, it's shot on the
LGBT.
FS7.
Okay.
What's wrong with
Yeah.
that?
I can just like certain aspects of it. Like there are certain shots. There's one shot in particular that is one of the most horrible shots I've ever seen in any movie ever. Not for its framing or anything like that, but it's signal. You can see the signal's bad.
What do
It's
you
the
mean
shot
by
where
that?
they're walking into the.
Signal to noise.
They're walking into the I don't know. The only way I can describe it is it has a giant stop sign in it.
Okay.
it's
Digital's
one-
the future, Wesley. You got to catch
not-
up.
It's not.
Yes, it is. I didn't know it was shot in digital until you said it. You know, the only thing that would bother me would be the frame rate if it was a different frame rate. But I think it was 24. So
It was probably, but it to give it a sense of like, I read an article with the cinematographer, and yeah, he was like, I wanted to shoot this thing on film so bad, but we only had $45 million.
Oh.
But you
Yeah,
know what
it's
though?
also-
But it did a good job. I mean, like it looked good.
Yeah,
I,
I thought it looked all
I don't
right.
think. I don't want to know why people poo-poo on digital like so much.
I just don't like it.
It happens to be digital's good if you know how to deal with it.
Yeah, but there's also cameras that are digital that are fine. They like look like
Some of
film
them
to
produce
me.
beautiful images.
You know?
Yeah. Like I would have been super happy if it was shot on like the Red Series cameras or the RE cameras, but this was shot on a
Yeah.
Sony camera.
But Sony's pretty good. Like Sony's
It
really
is.
good.
I like Sony, but like this just like, and I'm not saying the visuals were bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that like there was an opportunity for it to be great, and I don't think it is.
Okay. Just a little nitpick.
Yeah.
I don't get that argument with film. It's like
Really?
like
Film is just better.
It just
not all the time. Like
You're
sometimes
right. I
digital's
know.
good.
I've been in video
You know what I mean?
classes and whatnot.
But like I'm saying, film is great, but it's like there's nothing wrong with digital. Like that having that mindset about stuff like it's like you'll never evolve. You'll never
Calling
evolve.
you out, Wesley.
Yeah, I am calling you out a little bit.
I don't know. I think you're misconstruing what I'm saying, kind of.
He's just
it's that-
he's saying that
He noticed
it could have
something
been
that was
better.
different. Yeah, you know what? I thought it was just a special effect, but the part with the lighthouse looked really digital to me.
Yeah.
that was the only bad part. But I think that was just the CGI. I really think that was just the way they made it.
It was
CGI.
supposed to look weird.
Yeah, but
They
even
did it
before,
on purpose.
But even before when the asteroid or whatever it was, the comet hit it. It was like, that's not real. You know.
Yeah.
I felt that way about the like crystal palm tree, diamond
That
palm
was the
trees.
one I was talking
those
about
were
in
like
particular.
But everything else was good.
Yeah, I thought the rest was pretty decent.
It was a standout kind of flop.
I do
art.
think taking away like this is for one. I feel like one of the strengths, regardless of how I feel or others may feel in a negative way about maybe the story or some of the other aspects of it, I feel like there is something to be said about how bold the movie is. That there is a lot in terms of like shocking violence mixed in with this other stuff.
I'd turn away when he was
As
stabbing
well
him in the
as
stomach.
just like a lot of open-ended, like that wasn't totally explained. Like I don't really know. Like
Boy,
it's
that girl's jaw just got torn off.
this doesn't go. This doesn't go to the brilliance, especially in my opinion, of like a Kubrick movie of how you interpret it is entirely left to you, and like you're just given like it's a different kind of feel.
Well, I think that's what they wanted to do, but I don't think they executed it.
That said, though, I think it's worth commending it that there is a movie like this, that it is so bold, that they do have that this is
It's not
released.
a comic book movie.
Yeah,
It's not. It's like
this isn't like Mother either, where like the boldness is so like ham-fisted, like
There was no boldness in
smell
Mother.
my farts.
no, yeah, you're right.
Like
It
this
wasn't
is
jerking
this is a
yourself off.
different kind of shock and awe kind of.
You're
movie.
right. And what's interesting is like this is I think I talked to you, Wesley, about this, but I don't care who the protagonists are, the people that we root for, or who are cast in the movie. I don't care if they're black, white, green, yellow.
I like purple girls.
Whatever. You know what I mean? I just put some interesting characters, and I thought I didn't think anything political in this movie. I thought these were interesting characters. You mean? And oh wait, they're all females, but that doesn't matter because they're good characters. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think a lot of people think like when they say when people transcend like that kind of thinking of saying, oh look finally an all female, like no, I guarantee the majority of people who go see a movie do not care if it's female or male, black or white.
Hear, hear.
You mean? I think it's just like we got to write good characters, and when people don't like a movie, it's just they don't like the movie. It's bad characters or something they didn't like about the movie. They don't hate that it's a female in it.
Are you covering for me? Like, so when people like because I didn't like the
We're
movie?
setting up a safety net.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Well, it's
Remake
funny.
Juggernaut.
I don't understand. You're absolutely right, Ben. And I don't understand how like this doesn't get through to a lot of people. Like if you don't, what was that?
I was coughing.
Oh, it sounded like a group.
It didn't
of
get through to
me. Is an interesting thing that a movie will come out that has like a
Ghostbusters.
yes, Ghostbusters, A Wrinkle in Time. It's if that movie fails, it's because of racism and sexism.
No, it's a bad movie.
Right, but when a movie like Black Panther succeeds, it's because audiences are ready, and it's like it's neither of those things. It's
Could it have been to do with good writing and good
to
casting?
do with good acting, good characters, and good writing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's bothered me about this, and I was trying to decide whether to bring it up or not, was that
Shoot.
I've been reading a lot of the backlash against Annihilation. And
Was
like
there backlash?
Yeah, you would think that it would be, or like the backlash that would get news is that people are like, I don't like movies with ladies telling men what to do or rescuing men or whatever,
Yeah,
I want to see wieners on screen.
It's like
That's
that
not where this-
ponytails are getting away.
I shared with Ben the other day, an entire excerpt from a review from Slash Film. I'm calling you out, Slash Film.
Yeah.
Saying that this movie was anti-feminist
What?
because it represents women as having flaws. It's like women don't
What are you
need to
talking
have
about?
flaws on screen. Yeah, I was like,
How about this?
Hey, people watching Slash Film,
What is
we
Slash-
got a podcast.
What is Slash Film? I don't even know what this is.
They're actually they're pretty big, actually.
They're big film review and film news.
Are you
site.
are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Every
that's what I said.
character in every story has a freaking flaw. And you know
Except
what
for
makes
Ray.
a character interesting is their flaws and the relatability to be a human being, damn it. You know what I mean? Like, why do you think Superman is not as popular as Spider-Man? Because Spider-Man has flaws and he has to deal with day-to-day crap,
Keep ranting. I'm going to zoom in on you.
Yeah, here it goes.
I can't zoom.
You can't zoom, all right. but I'm saying like that's frustrating.
I can only
That's
zoom
frustrating.
on that
And you know
scale.
what makes things beautiful? Flaws. Like this movie, the whole theme of the movie is about flaws. And like, look, this cancer is.
I wanted more flaws,
Well,
even more, like to push it even further.
More flaws than the films the
Yeah.
cameras they used.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
but like it's like that's my problem with Star Wars. It's like what's her name doesn't have any flaws. Like Luke had flaws. Everybody has flaws. You know what I mean? The more flaw you have in a hero, the better. The more flaws you have in any characters, it's interesting. Thank you. And remake Dragonheart, damn it! Remake Dragonheart. All right. I can go on.
No, that's good.
And it's interesting. It's like
You cut to Independence Day like
Today, we celebrate our flaws.
That's funny.
it's funny. My visual on that was Charlie Chaplin in The Dictator.
Yeah. I don't have that clip ready. Sorry.
Oh well, you are not a true film fan. No, that's funny because it's weird that we live in that world where like that's the same reason Joss Whedon got kicked from Batgirls, because the studio didn't like that he was trying to make her a complex character. They're like, oh no, she doesn't need to have gone through trauma to be Batgirl. It's like, okay, because normal people dress up like animals.
Because Batman didn't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a problem. That's a problem with like, and that's why people don't like movies.
Yeah,
it's because of that.
That's why people don't like. That's what people mean by they don't like. The politically correct culture we live in. It's not, like I'm tired of seeing women on TV. Like
nobody
no
cares.
man has ever said that.
No. Well, I mean,
there has to be
few.
one.
I mean, like, there's probably a few, but it's real. Like Alien's a great movie. Every horror movie is a great movie because they have females that have flaws and have to survive, and that's empowerment. Like majority of horror movies are all females versus the evil.
Well,
I mean,
nobody
cares.
So much of like just everything with movies, and we talk about this a lot with movies and the binary nature of Rotten Tomatoes and just movie reviews in general, that you're either for it or against it. There's zero in between, and just everything becomes not just for movies, like a group think and very tribe oriented. Like, I hated that. I'm on the side that hated that thing, or I'm on the side that liked that thing. And so you kind of a lot of people default to those mindsets.
It's a bad movie. Put it down, Wesley.
If it's one thing I like about this podcast is that we talk about, I don't know, maybe we fall back on our biases sometimes, but
we have
ultimately
it's what we do.
We're actually talking about what we liked and didn't like, and are pretty specific about it. We talked for 57 minutes now.
There's parts of this movie that I love.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad movie. Like I'm with you where it's like it needed a little bit more focus.
So overall, you three guys, I think my opinion.
Let's rate it like 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better than would you recommend it? Because even I think I would recommend you see it just for the sake that it is a very bold.
I would as well.
Different movie.
Something different.
I would rate the movie 6 out of 10.
Okay.
That's
actually pretty generous. Yeah,
actually,
thinking about some of the fact that it had thinking, like lasting power to think about it outside the theater.
The fact
so
that it
much.
made you think.
Yeah,
there you go.
And you had a lot of good things to say about it. Actually,
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Ben,
I might give it a 6.5, close to 7, 6.5.
Okay, that's fair.
I was going to give it a 6, but Matt said
I upped yours.
Yeah, wear the same color dress.
Well, I'm saying like because I liked it better than you did.
You did. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's because it's refreshing that it was something different. I don't. I kind of want to read a review on it or something. I always want to know more, which is good, but I like a little more explanation too on some places, but I'm with you where it's kind of not focused a little bit. But I recommend it, just to see something different. If you don't like body horror, then I don't recommend it.
Ooh, when the plants were coming out of her arm, I can't do that stuff.
You were convulsing.
Yeah, I was.
Oh yeah, you were.
I really hate that.
Were your insides moving like snakes?
I could handle the cut and the snake intestines and all the other gross stuff.
Nope,
I couldn't handle the plants coming out of her
arm. The
arm.
cut is what I couldn't handle.
All my years on the internet just doesn't faze me anymore.
Ugh, gross. Aaron, what's your rating?
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag with me because, like I said, there are parts that I really didn't like. There are parts I liked. I think I liked it more than Matt. Originally getting out of the theater, I gave it Ben's rating 6.5 or so. I'm going to bump it up to a 7 after that good little discussion. Give it a 7.
Interesting.
Yeah. I recommend it.
Wesley?
Well, I have to say my favorite scene in the entire thing was when Ventress turned the boat around and flew it through the bear at light speed.
Well, it changed everything in the universe.
Yeah.
Why didn't they do that before?
Yeah. I mean, now instead of bubbles...
Could she have told them about her plan a little earlier?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Could she have told them about the cancer?
I thought the pink hair was a little much.
Interestingly enough, I don't understand why Lena didn't tell them that her husband was king. That
She didn't want life to interfere with work.
I don't.
But you know what? And here's why.
It was self-destructive.
It was self.
Yeah. See, exactly.
No,
Everything it doesn't matter if anything makes sense.
But it is.
Who cares?
It is. It is something. No, it is. It does make sense. And here's why. This is when you try. Look, when you try to control every little thing about things in a relationship. This is in a relationship, part of the relationship metaphor. If you try to control every little thing about that, it's gonna blow up. You mean if she was honest to begin with, it would have been better. It would have made sense. But then it reared its ugly head with bad ramifications. So if you're controlling in a relationship, that's what would happen.
Is that our new catchphrase? Instead of a movie being about the environment, it's about self-destruction?
Yeah, it's going to change going forward.
Annihilation.
From here
about
on.
male hegemony.
That's right. So, yeah.
Hegemony Cricket. I didn't see him.
Good piece of wood, too.
Let your self-destruction be your guide. Wait, that was Mickey Mouse.
Give a little whistle.
All right. Let Wesley say his rating, please.
So I guess
Papa.
it comes down to me, like, this is just the type of thing that works for me. Like, this is the type of movie that just like lodges itself in my head and says, this is, it does it for me, I guess. So I give this a solid 9 out of 10. And I highly recommend it for more reasons than previously stated. That I just want the message to get through to let artists do their thing.
And you also get to see
Except
Natalie
for Tim
Portman's
Burton,
bareback.
don't have too much control.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys read this, but like they fought against the studio trying to get them to have a big battle at the end with a group of aliens. That's what they wanted. Paramount wanted like them to get to the lighthouse, and they wanted like a gunfight with all the aliens and like a giant ship to take off and stuff.
Abolish studios now.
God.
That reminds me of this.
So depressing.
I have a little anecdote. That reminds me of the Superman Returns or Superman Lives story when Kevin Smith was writing the screenplay to it. And
The spider.
well, no, it's even better than that. So the guy who's in charge of all the Superman, like he's in charge of all the Warner Brothers stuff, so he still gets money. Like he's not like he's a producer. I forget his name, but he's kind of like they're crazy. He used to be a hairdresser and all these things. But Kevin Smith's story, like he wrote this stuff, and there's a part where Superman goes to the Fortress of Solitude to kind of like contemplate and stuff, and it's really actually interesting. And as he's pitching this, going over the script in the meeting with this producer, the producer goes, it's like, like Superman's in the Fortress of Solitude for a long time. He's got to do something, right? Like, can't he, like, fight a polar bear or something? It's like, that's what we're dealing with, folks.
Somebody throw a pie.
I'm not saying it, but it's in the movie.
You're like, why would Superman fight a polar bear? Like, why would he even need to fight a polar bear?
Perhaps it was a kryptonite polar bear thing.
Get it, dude.
You have no imagination.
Green polar bear.
That's funny.
My God.
He needs to fight a polar bear.
Studios have got to go.
Well, yeah. So I'm very happy they fought against the alien battle. And next week we'll be doing Cowboys versus Aliens.
Yay.
Another master. No, we're actually not going to do that.
Can we not do Pacific Rim?
No, next week. So next week, as we wrap up, we're doing a big Ready Player One podcast.
Oh, yes, I remember.
We're going to talk. We have a guest. I'm not even going to say who it is.
Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
Please.
Wait. Oh shoot.
No.
Crap. Up. Now he's out.
I want to have a good
No,
conversation.
we've got a good guest. We've got a good conversation around VR that we're gonna do, and then talk about the movie, which I already have strong opinions of even before I've seen the movie because I've read the book.
Which is unhealthy.
So yeah,
'Cause you're a millennial.
if you liked my negative opinions about this movie,
if you like the constant stream of hate, tune in.
if you are numbed by the thought of criticism, let me let me rekindle that flame for you.
Let me take that ice pack off you.
Yeah. So look for our Ready Player One podcast next week. And thanks, Wesley, for joining us.
Thank you for
as
having
much
me.
as I didn't maybe not the biggest fan. I'm happy I saw the movie for sure. So
I didn't know if you were talking about the film or me right then.
Are you running for Congress?
I am. He's running.
He's like, I'm happy about it. Is this your baby? Happy I saw it.
Mwah.
All right.
All right. Until next week.
I feel like I should do the plug. No, we're not done yet.
We're not done yet.
We're plugging Live Game
we're plugging.
Sharks.
Oh yeah. We've got another thing. That's right.
Ben and I are going live on Twitch doing our YouTube Game Sharks thing. And we're still trying to pick a day. I was thinking a Friday night.
There goes my fun.
I was thinking Friday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever the gamers want.
Yeah.
Watch our commentary.
You can find us at Twitch TV/Twitch/Game Sharks Live.
/remake.
Did you pick the game yet, or is it going to be a surprise?
It has to do with Jackie Chan.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm
That's
listening.
all I'll say.
The tuxedo.
The tuxedo,
wish.
the game. We're Jennifer Love Hewitt. All right. Game Sharks Friday. Ready Player One next Wednesday. Thanks for.
We've done this.
# remake Jennifer Love Hewitt.
I need to make a title
end.
slide for that.
Hit end, please.
All right, I'm stopping the stream now.
Bye.